Women's IP World. Women's IP World. Women's IP World.
Welcome to episode 8 of season 4 of the Women's IP World Annual Podcast, a podcast series that's shining a spotlight on women and intellectual property. I'm your host, Michele Katz, and I'm the co-founding partner of the law firm Advitam IP, which in Latin means intellectual property for life. We are based out of the US in Chicago. Me and my firm are hosting this podcast on behalf of Northens Media PR and Marketing Limited, based out of the UK in London. They are the publishers of the Women's IP World Annual and the Global IP Matrix magazine. The new version, 2025 edition of the Women's IP Annual, is now available online at www.womensipworld.com. Again, that's www.womensipworld.com. And you can listen to the annual as well, either this edition or prior editions on your favorite podcast app. If a hard copy is more your thing, grab one at Northern Media booth at the, most major IP conferences that are happening worldwide. At this time, I'd like to welcome Elleson Fraenk, founder of the law firm Vision Legalis Advocaten in Suriname. Thank you for joining us, Elleson. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Did I pronounce everything correctly?
Yeah, almost. Maybe the advocata.
Yeah. So
Advocata.
so slowly tell us your firm name.
Vision Legalis Advocaten.
Okay, now tell me the origin. What does it mean?
So Vision Legalis is more like Latin. It means legal vision. And advocate is the Dutch word for attorneys.
And we're going to get into Suriname, your country, because I think it's going to be very fascinating to learn, first of all, where it is in the world.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows that. So we want to know kind of within the Caribbean where you're located. But also we want to learn about you and how you got into law and how you got into intellectual property and then eventually started your own firm. So why don't we start with you?
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
So, I always said my name is Elleson Fraenk. I'm 50. Just turned 50 last year at
well,
the end of last year.
congratulations.
Thank
This
you.
is my year for 50. So we're going to celebrate next time we see each other.
Okay, we will. So I've been a lawyer or an attorney, I should say, from in 2007. I was admitted to the bar. So that's 18 years already.
I won't make you do the math, but okay.
I already did. 18 years. I started doing intellectual property at my old law firm because they were doing it. So I just rolled into it, and I got things on my desk to do, and I'm like, okay, seems interesting because you don't get this in law school. You don't get intellectual property in law school as much. So I rolled into trademarks and immediately took to it, and I was like, I've been doing it ever since. So that would be from 2005, I think. Before I was even admitted to the bar, I was doing trademarks. So I loved it. Law was not my first choice. I am from the other side of the spectrum. I was doing math and how you say that, science. I rolled into law because I didn't really know what else to go and study. And my mom was like, but you can't sit at home. And I was like, okay, let's see what's out there. Let me go and do law. And when I went,
Had you already completed undergrad? Like, in your country, does it work where you do an undergrad, so you did your science studies, or did you end up going to law from high school?
Yeah, you do. I don't know if you call it high school, but you go to high school and then you kind of qualify for some direction you can take. So do you do the science part or do you do law and languages? and I qualified for the science part, and I was initially gonna do that, but life happened, and then I was like, okay, I don't know what I should do anymore. And my mom said, but you're not sitting at home. And then yeah, and so I'm like, yeah, let me go to law school.
Okay. So how much of your science and math, had you completed before you, or had you completed that and then you still didn't know what you wanted to actually do with your life?
Yeah, so I completed like high school and I was
Mhm.
qualified, but then I was gonna go to the Netherlands to study, but that didn't work out. So then I had to pick something else to do.
Got it. I
Yeah.
got it. Okay. And so how long was the legal studies that you did? Law school, so to speak.
Law school is about 5 years,
Oh, okay.
or was. They changed it now into bachelor and masters, but
Okay.
when I was studying it, it was like just one chunk, and yeah, after that you were masters, so to speak. We call it meester in de rechten. It's masters.
Masters.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, I mean, it wasn't before long, it sounds like, that you started Vision.
Well, I was at my old firm for let me see, 2004 to 14 years.
Oh, it was. Okay, so
Yeah,
14 years.
14
You had a
years.
lot of
Yeah.
experience under your belt when you
Hmm.
and so what led you to start your own firm?
It was just time, because if you had asked me like years before, or people had asked me like, when are you going to start your own firm, and I was like, I'm never leaving here. I'm good where I am. But just, how sometimes life goes. It was like, it just clicked, like, I think I have to be on my own, and I just jumped.
Wow, okay. So you just made the decision and you what, like, the next day? I mean, for those of us who might be working for, you know,
Hmm.
firms and are maybe contemplating it, I think they'd find a lot of value in what was going through your mind
Hmm.
when you finally made the switch, and then how did you do it?
It was more like a feeling, like, um, at one point I was really comfortable, and then step by step I was getting more uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like really one thing I could say, like, I'm not happy here, or something. Nothing happened. It was just more of a feeling like I should be doing something else. And when I actually admitted to myself that I, deep in my heart, I wanted to do something else, then it was like the click just, happened. Because it was more to admit to myself, was I think the biggest step. Because like I said, I was like, I'm happy here and I'm staying here until forever, you know.
Yeah.
But then you have to admit to yourself that maybe you're not really happy, maybe you're just comfortable, and maybe you're just, like, set. Is that how
Mhm.
you say that?
Like
Like, you're set in your ways, and then I'm like,
yeah, like complacent, right?
yes,
So just
right, that's the word.
complacent.
Yeah. So when I admitted to myself, like, maybe there's more out there and maybe you want it, then everything happened really fast.
Okay,
It's
so
like
what year did you start Vision?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, so it's been
Yeah,
some time now.
it is. It has
You're
flown
not a
by.
startup anymore,
No,
you
I'm
know?
not. I'm not.
That we joke, like, did who made it past the 2-year mark? That's kind of like
Oh,
a startup,
okay.
and then there's 4 years and, of course, so on. My firm's now 13
Mm-hmm.
years old, which kind of shocks me because I was practicing for 12 years
Uh-huh.
in my prior life.
Uh-huh.
And so now my kind of 2nd gen life, my
Mm-hmm.
2.0 life is actually now longer
Uh-huh.
than my OG life
Wow.
as a lawyer. So it's yeah, it's you're not there yet
No,
actually, but
no.
you'll blink and you'll be
And
there.
and I have some COVID years, and those don't count.
That's yeah, that's fine. But I mean, well, I still I still count them. I mean, that was a busy time. I mean, I would had the running the business and also 4 kids at home,
True.
schooled and all that. So I mean, that was like
So
working
that's
double
true.
time.
That's true. But
So like
that's like a
I'm 20
running joke within my friends. Like, those years don't count.
Yeah, no, well, and I can understand why
Yeah,
on that
yeah. But
piece of
in
it.
like to your point, that was one thing I really liked. That when COVID happened, I I had no one to how you say that. I could just pack up, and I didn't have to somebody to talk to, like, can I do this or can I do that when it happened. And before we had like the real lockdowns, it was more like an encouragement of people try to work from home. And I was like, okay. And my son's school, they closed down and they had to work do school from home. So through internet and things. So
Hmm.
once that happened, I just told my husband, like, help me pack up these files and my computer and my printer, and I just went home. I had nobody to ask if I could do that. I just did it. So that was the I think really the first, well, not really the first, but that was one time when I was really happy that I went on my own.
Hmm. Right, exactly, where you had the independence to just make the call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it is, as you know from being a business owner, you make a lot of calls.
Hmm.
Like, you're ended up making, like, a lot of decisions
True.
that at the end of the night, it's like, "What's for dinner?" "You know what? How about you decide that?" I'm
True.
done. I'm
True.
done. It's like decision exhaustion.
Uh-huh.
So, we're gonna take a quick break, and we're going to then return and talk about your article. So, see you soon.
The results are in. Discover the top 100 influential women leaders in IP law, champions of leadership, innovation, and global influence 2025, now at www.womensipworld.com. Would you like to be recognized in next year's rankings? Be part of the top 100 influential women leaders in IP law 2026 by subscribing today and staying informed on when submissions open. Visit www.womensipworld.com and subscribe to stay in the loop. The Women's IP World Rankings 2026, celebrating excellence, leadership, and impact in the world of intellectual property.
Welcome back, everyone. We're on page 59 of the 2024 edition of the Women's IP World Annual, and we are going to be talking about Ellison's home country. You were born and raised in Suriname, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. So tell us, for those, not everyone, you may get that question on your name tag at, conferences, right? Where is that? So tell us about Suriname.
So I indeed get that question a lot. I am almost programmed to answer it before they ask it. Sometimes people are a little bit hesitant to say that they don't know where it is. So I'm like, do you know where it is? And they're like, no, not really. I'm like, don't worry, I got you. So Suriname is located on the north coast of South America, between Guyana and French Guyana, on top of Brazil. It's a South American country, but culturally it's Caribbean. So that's my standard opening at all INTAs and other conferences.
Well, you did mention Dutch, though, so let's
Yes.
go a little bit into history.
Yeah. So Suriname used to be a Dutch colony. Our Independence Day is November 25th in 1975. So this year we celebrate our 50th birthday, I should say.
Yes, along with my birthday.
Okay,
I'm a
yeah,
19.
we're all 50.
Okay. Okay.
So, but being that we were a Dutch colony for so long, that's our official language is Dutch, which makes Suriname a little bit an odd duck in the region, because we're in South America, but we don't speak Spanish, we don't speak Portuguese, we speak Dutch, which no one else speaks. But then we are more Caribbean than Latin America, so people don't really know where to place us.
And so, you know how St. Martin, there's a Dutch side and a
Hmm.
French side?
Hmm.
Do you have like particular collaboration at all with St. Martin because of the Dutch side at all, or no?
Well, well, I should say, like, historically, there's like a bond between those
Sure.
countries. I have, like, my uncle lives there, and we
Hmm.
have with Curacao as well. So you kind of gravitate towards each other, and what also happens is that clients, because there are a lot of Surinamese people living in those countries, you have like business owners who also do business in those countries. So I call them the natural part where you would want to register.
Hmm.
Those are the natural countries to register your trademark. If you done registering in Suriname and then you're trying to like, where would I export my products to? Then yeah, you're probably going to export to Curacao or Suriname because people live there.
Do you think that also language is such a bond between people, right? So
Hmm.
do you think that Dutch companies, if they're going to be exporting outside home country, that they target Suriname?
Not
Or is
in
that not so much the
not
case
so
anymore?
much. Well, in that there is a lot of interest from the Netherlands in Suriname, but we're also a very small population, so it depends on what it is they're exporting. If Suriname is like a target country for them, because we're like 600,000 people, so that's not a very big market if you are looking at Suriname as one entity. But what we're seeing is that we are becoming like a hub for the CARICOM because we're part of CARICOM, all those Caribbean countries. And
Mhm.
then if you look at us as part of the CARICOM, there's suddenly you're talking about millions of people. So it depends
Right.
on how people are looking at it.
There's no central filing system, say, for trademarks in the Caribbean, right?
No,
Right. So
no.
it's not like the EU. There's no, even though there's a kind of the CARICOM like group, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
actually drill down to efficiency necessarily with IP.
No, it does not. It does not. And that's also because of the fact that all those jurisdictions have different law systems. Because Suriname, for example, is a civil law system. A lot of our Caribbean brothers and sisters are common law systems, like the US is.
Right.
And
Except
that
for what state? Do you know? Except for what state? There's one state that's not common law. Yes?
in the US,
Yeah. Yeah,
really,
Louisiana.
I
I
was
think there's
gonna
a
say
law
that
in that
because they're
state.
French.
Yeah, like New Orleans, yeah, right? So that's
Okay.
but you're
Okay,
absolutely
okay,
right.
okay.
And it all, all the origins of that is colonization, right? British colonies versus
True.
Dutch colonies,
Mhm,
right? Which is
mhm.
so interesting, like such the long-standing effect, right? Our legal system, the foundations of our legal system, and
Yes.
language, and all those things, cultural components.
Mhm,
So okay, so
mhm.
wonderful. When you take on a new client, say they're overseas client, and they're like, okay, so yes, I definitely want to file a trademark application. I want trademark rights in Suriname, and then they say, well, what about elsewhere in the region? What do you tell them?
So I'm a member of IPCA, so that helps a lot. The Intellectual Property Caribbean Association, which helps with the network. So we usually, depending on what the client wants, we will either refer to one of our colleagues in the Caribbean, or they would say, yes, do it," and then we, reach out to our counterparts and try to file it that way. So, but we have this network.
You can still be the kind of central person coordinating
Yeah. So
everything, and you've got just
yeah.
kind of how we work with our international councils in other parts of the
Yes,
world.
true, true. It depends on the client what they want.
Right. And so, and that's a great thing about these organizations, and also traveling as we do in our profession to other, whether it's INTA or PTMG or AIPPI, APA, right? And so we travel around and we meet people from all over the world. And it's quite likely that you're the only person from Suriname at in some of these meetings.
A lot of times, sometimes
That can,
it's two of us. I believe there's one
yes,
other firm, but not a lot. And
right.
especially as INTA, I'm almost always people's first Surinamese.
Right. And so, I mean, you're drawing the map for
Yeah,
them, right? Let it, it's like I am here. This is
true,
where I
true.
reside. So yeah, I would imagine it's not like, people from the US that, oh, there's a lot of us. But on the other hand, there's a lot of business, right? So maybe proportionally, um, I wouldn't say it's the same, but proportionally, right? There's a lot more US lawyers, there's a lot more
Mhm.
business that's coming into the United States. Does Suriname have like, what would you say its biggest industry is, or its biggest industries?
Because on the industry is mining, and in recent years, oil. We have
Mm-hmm.
for several decades have an oil industry, um, and now recently, as recent as is that last year, we have some offshore finds, which are so significant that it has predicted that we will have like a real oil and gas boom in the coming years. We are also looking at Guyana, our neighbor, which has the same development. They are like 5 years ahead of us, and it's really a booming industry. And as a trademark professional, I think you can testify to that. Before even a business comes into your country, you can see it when you do the searches. You see the filings, and that's when you see like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we are kind of ahead of the development. So what I'm seeing, trademark wise, there's a lot coming on our plate in the coming years.
Hey, you heard it here. Look at your stocks, everybody. Look at your stocks. Okay, so that's
Mhm.
fascinating. So, but is there a patent system in
No, we
Suriname?
have not. So that's a
Okay.
problem.
So some of the other islands also don't have a patent system. Do you see that also in Suriname's future?
I feel like it should. The few clients that contact me in respect to patents, I have to refer them to another country, to a colleague from another country.
Mm.
And the more people will engage in these kind of activities, the more important will it will become for Suriname. So at some point we will have to enact legislation for that.
Yeah, that'll be such a switch from what's been,
Yeah.
right? To not, I mean, it's part of us, our eyes probably like gape open that just to know that you don't have
Hmm.
patents, and it's important. It's like important to
Hmm.
know that it's not there, and that of course affects the willingness or the need, to enter the
Hmm.
market. So it has a lot. It's a compounding
Yeah,
effect.
that's true.
So, well, thank you so much, Ellison. Is there anything else you wanted to add about Suriname? We'd love to hear it.
Um, should I say? I feel like it's such a. I've called it at my last int. I called it the best kept secret. It is. People are really don't know about our country, the beauty of it, but the most I think our biggest gem is our diversity. We have people from all over the world. Um, People from with African roots, with Indian roots, with Indonesian roots, with Chinese roots, with European roots. We are really really diverse, and it shows in our foods and in our people. So that's I feel like people should uh, get to know Suriname a little bit better. um, we're one of the greenest countries on earth, and we're carbon negative as of yet. I don't know what's going to happen once the oil boom starts. I hope we will be able to maintain at least carbon neutral. Um, but for right now, we're carbon negative, and it's we're covered like more than 90% with tropical rainforest. So it's a beautiful country,
Wow.
and yeah, I'm really proud to be of Suriname.
Carbon negative. I mean, has anyone ever been to a place that could actually say they were carbon negative? And I mean, we travel. I have a big family. We travel by cruise
Hmm.
boat, and that does not create a carbon negative situation, even though there's mitigate. Cruise lines have improved their methods over the years. And I don't know that I've ever seen Suriname on any of the routes.
No, because our port, then we would have to like so have some deep sea port, and then you have to, how you call those ships? A
Tender.
tender. You have to get the tender to get into Suriname itself. Although there were some like the smaller cruise ships, which are able to navigate the river. We had, I think,
Okay.
once, maybe 3 or 4 times, we had those. But we would have to have like a seaport and then a tender coming in. So most people that come to Suriname travel by air.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting, to think about looking at our various itineraries. And, we're in the Caribbean once a year at least. And never have I seen Suriname on it. And I also wonder if it's policy based. I also wonder if the country as a whole is not interested in that revenue stream for the country because of the environmental impact. Maybe not, but it just makes me kind of wonder.
Well, let me say that most tourism in Suriname is small scale. We call it ecotourism. So we don't have like mass tourism. People don't come to us for beaches. People come to like authentic experiences, go into the interior, um, have like experiences in the villages, the local villages, of indigenous peoples or maroon peoples, and just experience nature. So those type of vacations do not, how you say that, you cannot have like a mass tourism for that. So it's always very small groups.
Understood. Yeah. And looking for a different type of vacation.
Yes.
More, yeah, like you said, eco-friendly, more natural, more authentic.
Yes.
And so that's fabulous. And obviously a barbecue on the beach that you're sponsoring, at the next IP conference that's in Suriname would be
It would be good. Well, we have maybe one beach, but we would go into the interior a little bit and sit beside a creek. That's more our
okay.
speed. Or, and I'd be amiss not to mention it, we have the best New Year's Eve party in the world.
Okay.
You can Google it.
I'm going
Just Google New Year's Eve in Suriname and you will see. That really, really, you'll see when we speak to each other again, you will tell me.
I'm going to.
People, that's like one tourist attraction. That it has become a tourist attraction.
Amazing.
Really.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's everyone's homework assignment. And then when you see Elleson at the next IP conference, I mean, you're gonna report what you found online at this crazy New Year's Eve party. I can't wait to look it up.
True.
So we're at time, but I wanted to thank you for participating in the podcast and in the the Women's IP World Annual. You also have an article that recently published in the 2025 edition. So everyone, please look it up. To our listeners, please like, follow, share with your friends and colleagues, but also feel free to send comments and questions. We really do look at and value those. And then until next time, we shine a spotlight on a woman in IP law. Thanks to all.
The Women's IP World. Women's IP World.
You have been listening to the Women's IP World podcast, hosted by Michele Katz from Advitam IP in Chicago, USA, on behalf of Northlands Media PR and Marketing Limited in the United Kingdom.
Women's IP World.